Conversations with Elders, hosted by yours truly, Louis-Virie Blanche, welcoming you to Glastonbury Radio 432, where we will be TED Talking in tongues with the elders of all ages, all generations, all races, cultures, and creeds. All gender, religious, or political preferences will be honored and encouraged on Glastonbury Radio 432, Conversations with Elders, where it is our treasured pleasure to roll out the red carpet of golden liquid love light to you in honor of the Queendom Come, soul dancing free to life's heartbeat drum, in honor of mother, daughter, sister, lover, priestess, goddess, friend, sharing the blessings of love's perfect stranger, Deja Vu, welcoming you to Glastonbury Radio 432.
It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too cosmic. Aloha, hola, aho, hello. Here we are once again, Conversations with Elders on Glastonbury Radio 432. And our beloved brother, Dr. Mosen, is here again. And we're going to continue our talks. Today we're going to go into some of the discussion pertaining to the eye of the soul.
Or the mind of the faculties of the soul. Just
faculties of the soul.
Yeah. Because our mind has faculty. By the way, hello.
Yes.
You're doing well.
Bye.
Yeah. So what happens, so we're going to slowly get into that. And then at the very end, we organize all of them in bundle. But it's better to just do one at a time so people have a little taste of it. We have faculties of the heart, faculties of the body, and faculties of the mind, and faculties of the soul. So we maybe talk about a couple of faculties of the soul tonight.
Okay, beautiful. Now the hierarchy, let's just go through the soul leads to the mind, leads to the body.
To the heart, and then the heart to the body.
Soul, mind, heart, body.
Yeah.
But because, the vision, if you don't have the vision in the soul, you can't fulfill that harmony.
Yeah. So soul has the hierarchy, and so therefore, when people vision something, it's their eye they see it with their soul, not with this eye. Or so the will, the vision becomes the eye of the soul. All of a sudden you vision something, but you're not seeing it, or you're not smelling it, or you're not touching it, but you all of a sudden have a vision.
A vision within the eye of the soul.
Yeah. When your vision, you see, your vision is the eye of the soul. Yeah.
And how would that affect a person's understanding of the electromagnetic essence of nature and existence?
Then when we get to magnetism and immotation, when you, like you call soulmate, that means you're emoted to that person. That means magnetism. Immotation is magnetism. So what happened all of a sudden, the heart of the soul. The heart of the soul is that immotation. That's why the one, you unknowingly you love somebody. You love your kids or your spouse or your, and that, is with the eye of the soul.
So a person's...
with the heart of the soul, I'm sorry.
So a person's field of energy with the eye of the soul, is a person able to see that field or sense that field?
Well, with the eye of the soul, you kind of you vision something. Your vision is with the eye of the soul. It's not something you really see it, but it's something out there. And immotation is the heart of your soul. For some reason, you fall in love, or this earth is emoted to the sun, and sun is emoted to the earth. So there's a love relationship there. immotation, which is magnetism.
The beauty of nature emanating such a beauty that you become reverent to it would activate your soul's ability to see.
And then sometimes you notice all of a sudden you are inspired or something is reveals to you. Sometimes you refer to it as a gut feeling. That is the ears of the soul. Because all of a sudden you don't hear sound or vibration but all of a sudden you hear a message.
You receive an inspiration.
Inspiration, yeah. So these are three of those faculties of the soul: vision, inspiration, or revelation. So that's why the prophets were so good at that. They were so de-earthed and dematerialized that all of a sudden everything was available to them by inspiration, by revelation, by immotation, by vision. You see all those characters? Mm-hmm. They were very high in those characters. They have vision of something that's going to last thousands of years or hundreds of years. They had, so their ears of the soul were so open. I am deaf with respect to them. So they could have revelation and inspiration. They had willpower. That means, their mind of the soul was so strong, and mind could be tempted. So that's why, that will, which is the mind of the soul, if it's in surrender, submission, and service to Creator and creation, in peace, with joy, that all of a sudden, all the hardship becomes pleasure for you.
And you sleep and you can't wait to wake up and have another beautiful day.
Yeah. You know what happened? That's why when you get into that mode, you notice a lot of healing happens during the sleep, regeneration, repair of the cell. Because at that time, if our pH is what it was assigned by the Creator, which is an alkaline pH, then you have a deep REM sleep, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your deep REM, and everything repairs, and everything becomes renewed. And when you get up in the morning, your pains or things might be gone. But it has to be in that state of faculties of the soul for these things to happen. One example is that I can give you, this German guy, Bruno Groening.
Bruno Groening.
Yeah, if you've heard, they have chapters all over the world, all over America. They had in Santa Cruz and all over the Bay Area. You notice he wasn't a medical person, but he could get people to that state. When they got in that state, they healed. So there was no such a thing as psychism. Psychism, I think, is deceptionary. There is no, but what happens when the people get in that state of applying their faculties of the soul, they could get healed. So if you look up Bruno Groening, you notice, that's what he was able to get people to think in that state.
How would he do that?
Well, that's why, when you become dematerialized, we are all subject of time and space. All of our perception and cognition is time and space oriented. And that's why creation. And so what happened is, when we liberate ourselves from the limitation of time and space, we get to a different higher border and boundary. We get to higher boundary. When we expand our boundary, we are able to see more things. Your will works better because the mind of the soul. Your vision is all of a sudden becomes timeless, because what you vision, let's say you write a song. This song is not just for this generation, all of a sudden for many generations to come. Every time they listen to that song, they enjoy it. They enjoy your words. Because you're liberated out of time and space. It has nothing to do with our time or fashion, or any of that. It just expanded boundaries.
So that non-spatial timelessness.
Yeah. Not that we can get rid of time, but we can become less influenced by time and space. I mean, for example, if you look at love, when you love somebody, doesn't matter if they're here or halfway around the world, you still have the sense of immutation. Earth is very far from the sun, but there's immutation is so pure that they stay in a very devoted boundary.
Can't leave one another behind.
Yeah.
So the process of keeping the faculties of the soul tuned to nature, that's an empirical process.
Yes. You know what happens, so how do we learn this? By looking at the nature. Like last time we talked about the nature, in order to multiply, it divides itself. The seed divides itself to multiply.
Right.
Now, if a person is something divides you but cannot multiply, becomes narcissist, divisionist. They take your vision away. So if I can take then you don't. If I take your vision away, you can't see what I'm doing. Then I can divide you to the left or to the right.
And you can't find guidance within yourself, and you can't hear the voice of inspiration.
Well, if I be able to divide this to the left and right, then I have taken you, I have really demoted, or I have really suppressed your vision. The vision is division. So that's why divisionists have no vision. It's all narcissism within themselves.
Is it kind of like a process of being desensitized?
Yes, yeah. And then desensitizing is something in heart and mind. But when they take your vision away, if they take our vision away, then when I say I and you, I don't mean I and you. I'm just handicapping the language.
Yes.
But what we say, if they take our vision, we can't see anything out of time, and expand our time and space, perception and cognition. Let's say if you write a song and you're visioning for not just this generation, but many generations to come, then it has to follow something in the nature. Because the nature is very stable and sustainable if you allow it. And then all of a sudden that song or the lyric that you wrote is not just for me and you or this 2 decades that is going to go out of the fashion. All of a sudden it'll be good for many centuries.
There's everlasting beauty.
Yeah, yeah.
And perennial, it becomes perennial.
Yes, yes.
And I was doing some studying of scripture. It seems that the Holy Scriptures in the Quran, the Torah, the Talmud, the Upanishads of various cultures the scriptures seem to have come from people having these faculties of the soul, and they wrote some of the beauty down, and so many times the books and the temples were destroyed, and the people had to carry the message in their heart, and they chanted or recited poems, the oral scripture. Like Rumi was really the voice of the people. The poetry and the songs and the prayers became the means that you have a sustainability through that process.
Yeah, it took 700 years before people even read Rumi's stuff. He didn't write it for his own time. And then, if you look at when it comes to prophetic order, like Jesus or Moses or Muhammad or Abraham and all that, they had that faculty of the soul so in a higher level. That revelation was happening to those because all of a sudden they were in so high that they have a resonation with God. Pure resonation. Now that's why if you look at everything, we don't know what the spirit is, but the spirit is the architecture of existential reality. But it doesn't have time and space in it. That's why we cannot define it. So, but God is almost in everything because that the spirit of existentialism, otherwise it wouldn't exist. There was a man, by Carl Jung, who was a psychiatrist in Switzerland, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the gate of his house, he had a message there. It was saying that invited or uninvited, God is present. That means in every cell of your body, whether you like it or not. That's the nature of things. It's invited or uninvited. God is present.
So this process of divinity being in everything was also very important in the faculties of the soul gave you the ability to see or inspired you to see divinity in everyone and everything.
Yeah. So that's why, those were very special people in that caliber. That's why inspiration was happening to them. I mean, we have inspiration too, but their inspiration or revelation was very high.
And to maintain a resonance, to keep that resonance in a state of symbiosis, active and synergetic and flowing with the field and flow, like every time you find you have a thought, but you may magnetize something to you before the thought even reaches out into existence. You're just attracting synergy and synchronicity in your resonance and the sacredness of your field.
Yes.
And
remember, the only thing we have to keep in this homeostasis of being, existential homeostasis, if the soul is over the mind is over the heart is over our physical body. That's why, remember, we talked a few sessions before that if my emotion, physical emotion, becomes more than my mentality, then that's temptation. For example, I know smoking destroys me, but I say, oh, it feels good. I know such and such drugs, or whatever that people get addicted to. They say, oh, it feels good because it overrides sympathetic and parasympathetic of their nervous system. So they say it feels good, but it's all illusion because that's temptation.
So it feels good, you create a passion for it, but you have no wisdom in regards to that passion.
Yeah, it's a passion without wisdom, and wisdom without passion is a flame that burns toward its own destruction.
And we need to be regulatory, assimilating,
yes,
and alkaline in our pH to keep our field and flow
now
in motion.
Alkalinity, if you explore it a little bit more than just physical alkalinity, you have emotional alkalinity. And Dr. Konstantin Korotkov, the very famous Russian science, one of the groundbreaking researchers in this century, if our body is perfect alkalinity physically, but if my emotion is acidic, it overrides my physical. And my mental alkalinity is, if it's acidic, it overrides my emotion and my physical. So that's why you see this hierarchy of this. And he has actually, I have the equivalent, actually you can photograph it through different fingers. But because this finger here is my intuition or my vision, this little thing. Mm-hmm. It shows them, you take a picture of it. I used to do it in Santa Cruz. This is my emotion. It shows it perfectly around here. And this is my physical. And this is my mental. And this is where my judgment is subjective or objective. if it's subjective, that means it surrenders submission service to creator and creation in peace with joy. It shows it. I mean, you can fool around with it. Nobody can lie about it. Yeah.
So in my sound sessions, when I do the sacred sound sessions with tuning forks, I work each finger.
Yes.
And also I do the center of the palm of the hand. So
Yes.
the little finger, again, let's go through that. The little finger.
The little finger are intuition and inspiration.
Okay.
Intuition.
The ring finger.
Is emotion. That's why you put the ring in here.
Aha. Okay.
Now, there was a man by Howard C. Davis.
Howard C. Davis.
Yeah, he had a laboratory in Florida for 50 years. He found that there is a book he wrote. It's called Blueprint of Your Human Blueprint. And the other one is very famous called Rainbow in Your Hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those colors of the rainbow is associated to your fingers. Rainbow in the hand. Yeah, because those associated with these, you know, that's another thing we can discuss sometimes. But he found that like this side is, let's say, the male, and this side could be negative, and then the left side is opposite. So he can set positive and negative, you know, negative and positive. So that's why when people clap, they're discharging their energy to the person at the podium. And he's getting everything, you know, but these guys are being neutralized.
So the palm of the hand.
Yeah. So this hand, the right hand, is giving.
Giving.
And then the left hand is receiving.
So would you equate that with the sun and the moon?
Yeah. Yeah. And Earth is a receiver and male is a giver. You know, it's just the male is a giver and female is a receiver.
Receiving, yes.
Yeah. This is in a book called Rainbow in Your Hand.
Howard C. Davis.
Howard C. Davis, yeah. He's passed away now, but his work is a little bit neglected, you know, but it's pretty deep. He had this laboratory in Florida for 50 years. Yeah.
So this field that you showed before, the energy emanating from around the hand, the gentleman, what device was that read that field of energy?
It's called, the device is called GDV.
GDV.
Yeah, it stands for gas, discharge, visualization. Because your vibration around here is very gaseous, like Milky Way. And if you can activate that lower and lower within a visible band, then you can photograph it. So around each finger is all the organs. Let's say emotion of my liver, emotion of my heart, emotion of my, all emotion, because every cell in our body has emotion too. It has all those faculties. And then God created as a combined person. So if you look at this, your body is as many stars as you can see in the Milky Way. Because you have 70, 80 trillion cells.
And so what, some 3,000 plus enzymes?
Well, yeah, yeah. Because the science cannot put their finger on it, because all this science study is experimental and single or double fold experimentation, but the nature is, there is no fold in it. It's all variables. That's why our body has a function. It's not a system to be governed by input and output. It's field and flow, and that field and flow is the footprint of what? Immutation and magnetism, because all functions are magnetic.
And the biometric devices now to read the data coming off the body is becoming something that some people I'm talking to have biometric, like long johns, clothing you put on like a skin diving suit.
Yeah.
And it reads the energy field of the person wearing it, and the data can be collected without being connected by any wiring.
Yeah, I see the data that human collects by equipments is like that EEG or EKG in the hospital. We talked about it last time. You see this pulse, beep, 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 that says I'm alive. But that signal is oscillatory. It has no vitality or existential reality. It's just a signal. Now, if a person dies and that put that same signal in their body, it won't bring it back to life. So that means that signal was just a oscillatory representation of the vitality.
An oscillatory representation of the vitality of the body.
Vibration, yeah.
And if we're reading that on if we were getting feedback on all that we're emanating with body, mind, and spirit, we could look and see, hey, well, I'm a little bit low here on this, or I need a little bit of regulation.
Yeah.
I need to be more reverent and more thankful and more joyful and peaceful, so that my thoughts are not so no jealousy, no envy, none of those emotions.
Because the minute I have any of those, instantly it shows on this finger.
The ring finger. And you said the next finger going up is the physical, the body?
The middle one is the physical.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Emoto had a lot of things when you say cussing words. Like there's a bunch of them in English, like SHIT, people say every other word. They see 4-letter words, FUCK instead of 5, So every time you say that, what happens? It destroys the structure of all of my body. And if you're in my presence or you're listening to me and I'm swearing in front of you, that all of a sudden it affects you. So that's why foul language is not, it shows on this finger. That's why we have to be very impeccable with our words. The guy, who wrote the 5 agreements, the 4 agreements.
Yes.
You have to be impeccable with your words, because all of a sudden, I'm not destroying myself, I'm destroying you too, because you're hearing me. So that's why you have to get rid of the foul language. Instead of saying 4-letter words in you say "fi you" or "fi up."
So in a way, we're like our field and flow orchestrates either good vibrations or not so good vibrations.
It's the symphony of vibration. Every cell is vibrating. So
a symphony of vibrations.
In that state of cellular reality, not cellular, cellular reality, then everything in your body is resonating with each other, because they are all surrender, submission, and service to that creator and creation. So we are resonant. We usually resonate with mind-like, similar mind. What do they call it? Like-minded people.
Like-minded, yes.
Resonate with like-minded people. So when you are in that state, and then you resonate with like-minded people of that state. But if I'm at the resonating if I'm in the swearing and using foul language, I'm not impeccable with my words, then I'm resonating with that kind of mentality of mind, like-minded people.
Which is disruptive and destructive and dividing and causes desensitization, desensitizing.
So therefore, if I'm divisionist, because I don't have any vision, divisionists don't have no vision, so they're division. So if I am resonating with like-minded people who are also divisionists. So it creates a social structure which is called esotericism. That means I have a circle. Now I have one esoteric circle, you have another esoteric circle. So these esoteric circles, they have their own opinion. They're always in the state of duality or triality or polyarity. There is no unity. Because I came and divisioned you into divisionism. Divisioned you into divisionism. So therefore, it's easy, then you get into this group and that group and this group and that group. The unity is not there. It's very difficult to really establish unity.
And there's no communal field and flow.
Yeah. Because the state of esotericism means the smaller circle. So if I'm in a circle, where are you emoted toward? To the center of that circle. The speaker of that circle. So there's so many circles. So all of a sudden, this circle doesn't like that circle, this circle doesn't like this circle. So fragmentation takes place in sociocultural stuff, in science, in architecture. Then all of a sudden, instead of having an architude, you like architecture of the attitude, architude? Yeah. Instead of having an architude toward the creation, I have an architude toward what I am putting together. So I have nobody to surrender, submission, and service because I'm
self-centered and narcissistic.
Yeah. Well, narcissism, if you look at all narcissistic people who it's a symptom, is suffering, it's a symptom from the divisionist architude, because the architecture of their thinking, the architude, is divisionism, divide and rule.
It's a feeling of separation instead of feeling a part of.
Yeah. Unity goes, because if you look at the nature, it's very unified. That is called a unified field. You don't say unified system. Because this system, you can't unify it. But the field, you can unify it because it has that longing. System is in a state of competition. That means if I have to win, I'm competing, with this guy, I have to eliminate that guy. So it's a state of fragmentation, elimination. So how do I eliminate? By divisionism.
But to bring people and things together in unity, we see the divinity in life and nature, and we live in harmony, and we love to be in, say, harmony with the golden rule of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. You have empathy and compassion, not jealousy and insecurity, and you don't feel separate, you feel a part of. And you want that resonance to be something that you share with everyone and affects everyone everywhere you go.
Yeah. That's why your eye of the soul in that state, the eye of your vision, sees vibration, not colors, because color is a very physical law. Mm-hmm. You see vibration, because everything is vibrating. I mean, you have moved way up.
So let's go back with the fingers. We have the vision, the emotion, the body, and the next finger here.
Emotion, physical.
Yes.
Mental.
And
judgmental. Now, if I am judgmental subjectively, I never, because it says, what is the saying? It says, great minds discuss ideas, subjects. Average minds discuss events. The small minds discuss people. So when you see the narcissist, you know if they're talking about events or the people or about the subject. So great minds discuss ideas. It's very subjective. Average minds discuss events. It's very objective, this and that. And small minds discuss people. That's why I gossip behind your back. Or I
Rumors and
make,
the National Enquirer.
what is it called? Yeah. Or I make accusation without knowing it. That's why they say judgment. What is the saying? It says judgment by assumption is false accusation.
Judgment by assumption is false accusation.
Yeah, judgment by assumption.
By assumption.
Is false accusation. All of a sudden, I make in my mind, and I think about somebody, and I assume this person is good or bad, this and that. Then that's assumption I make. I make a judgment as a result of what is it called? Cause and effect. All of a sudden, I make an assumption. That assumption becomes accusation. It's false accusation. And you see it's going on around among divisionists or narcissists. I make a story about this and that, and there is no base for it.
Propaganda.
Oh, yes, that's good. Because I made an assumption. I made a judgment by assumption. And that you can't lie, because when we take a picture, it shows here. Whether my judgment was objective or my judgment was subjective. Because when it's subjective, there's no you and I or he or she or any of that. It's the matter of existential reality. When it's objective, then all of a sudden there is me and you and he or she. You need an object. But in the school, they teach us to what? In the school, they teach us to be objective, specialized, and critical, not creative.
So do you feel that the teaching of creativity can be inherent in a baby when it's born? I mean, there's a natural inclination for certain tendencies.
Yes.
And if you have a mentor, perhaps you can go and mentor with people and see their process, follow their procedure, and practice it.
Yeah. You know what happened? If you notice, there are mothers who are in that state when the child is born, because let's say you're not a woman, I'm not a woman, but let's say one of us, we are a woman. When you're pregnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every emotion, mentality, all of my fields affecting this baby which is inside. That's why people who are smoking or drinking or angry, it affects that baby inside. But if the mother is in a very state of cellular reality, then the baby becomes indigo. And there have been many examples of that kind of mothers, that when they are so calm during pregnancy, they put both hands. It's reported by Albert C. Davis Jr., I think, that the mother, that they do that, the rainbow in the hand, all the vibration and everything is fed to the baby inside.
Nurturing it.
Born to be indigo. They have a good vision because they were in a good field. They're ready to come out and flow.
Yes.
And you notice one good example of that, you notice in Aramaic word,
Mm-hmm.
the name of a lot of prophets were different than when they changed them. For example, the name of in Aramaic, which was the name, the language that Injil or Ginza, that we call it Bible now, was revealed to Jesus. His name was Isa, I-S-A, then B-E-A-E-N, Maryam. His mother's name, Maryam. So he was the mother had such a holy womb. When the baby was born, IBM, I refer to him as IBM, Isa ben Maryam. So why do you think they changed the name of IBM in 1924 from calculating, tabulating, recording machine? The guy was very well into Aramaic. IBM.
Aha.
Aha. Did you ever think about that?
Never heard that one.
His name was Charles Rundlet Flint. You remember the Flint movies?
Yes.
In 1911, he established he was also a very good businessman, but his passion was Aramaic. The name of the company was Calculating, Tabulating, Recording, and Tabulating Machine. It was those, my father had it, those things, you could turn it like this with the handle on the side, and it would add numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, my father used to tell me turn this, and then all of a sudden 2 + 2 become 4. Yeah. Anyway, in 1924, he had a business manager, I think by the name of Watson, and he changed the name of the company to IBM. But he said, well, we can't go with the religious name and market this all over the world. So that's why there is an associated to IBM, which is an international business machine. But the real what's behind it is Isa ben Maryam, because he was passionate about Aramaic. Now, the point is, the reason, all of a sudden, IBM was so in that state of cellular reality, because the mother, when it was in the womb, was in total surrender, submission, and service to Creator and creation. And that's why the baby was born with all kind of indigoity.
Indigoity.
Yeah. And architude.
Architude, yes. The process of having a child in you and understanding that you are the biosphere of that being's existence,
yeah.
You would think would instill in every mother to be peaceful and to dwell in that quiet stillness and to nurture and be loving to this amazing thing that's happening inside a human body.
And same thing with the man. If the man was on drugs, or let's say the man was on the drugs, or let's say alcohol or anything like that, the sperm that donates to the womb, it has all those attributes. So it's not just woman, but also the man has to be in that state of cellular reality.
Right.
That's why, in science, in a very single-folded, double-folded study, they call it genetic effect, but it's more than genetic or the DNA. Because what happens, that the sperm, it's a dot. When it's divided, it multiplies.
Mm-hmm. Following the course of nature's way.
Yeah, if I'm a wheat or a corn or a pomegranate seed, if I do not surrender, submit, and service Creator creation in peace and joy, I won't divide. Then I won't multiply. That's what the GMO is. What?
God, move over.
Or move over. Or move on.
I think I want to make a seed that doesn't multiply. Why would you?
You constantly have to go and buy it. Because
Yeah. These seeds that divide and multiply, they're not making profit for me. How would you like to farm with this seed and you have to come back for more? What a concept.
All of a sudden, I am a seed that I'm refusing to divide.
Hopefully the farmers have vision. They say, hold on, my vision says this is not right.
You see that when you do the GDV, gas discharge visualization, the camera by Konstantin Kratkov, if this hand is giving and this hand is not receiving, there is no equilibrium, or there is no what do you call homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the nature of thing have to give and receive, give and receive. Mm-hmm. That's why we have two hands. Otherwise, God will give us one hand. This is receive. if the joy of life was in receiving, but the joy of sometimes you notice is more in giving. You're habilitated to give. Mm-hmm. You feel better than if you're habilitated to only receive. So that's why Howard Davis, the homeostasis of this thing is that we receive and give, receive, and then the whole world will be in equilibrium. Because I'm not just taking away.
Right. There's no input-output factor and no accumulation and pollution because you're keeping the field in flow in a regulatory process that assimilates.
Yes. Because when it's in that state, everything becomes, if it's in that cellular reality state, then everything becomes assimilative.
It's like it's assimilative as being synergetic, right?
But let's say if I am jealous of you, this jealousy becomes accumulated. It's not assimilative. It's not a emotional assimilation. We talk about faculty of heart sometimes. If it's not as I'm jealous of you, and therefore I have a feeling which is not assimilative. It's very acidic.
And that toxicity accumulates in you.
And if I keep accumulating, what happens to me? I get fat. No, it becomes a drama.
Yes.
I have this negative, let's say, jealousy toward you. That is not assimilative feeling. There is no tree you see jealous of another tree. It becomes accumulative in me. And when I accumulate this, it becomes habitual, then I have a drama. It's very difficult. It becomes acute and drama, and it's very difficult to get rid of it when it's a drama.
Well, a very famous, I think his name was Richard Marx, very famous cancer doctor.
Yes.
He was working in hospitals and working on one patient at a time. He was very successful at it, but one day he came in and he felt like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I want to do more than just one person at a time. And he went off. He had a kind of a nervous breakdown. Some friends of his lived in the mountains. They said, well, come and live with us and stay out here. And one day he was in the forest and he saw these butterflies kind of uniting. And one of the butterflies, the black butterfly, actually landed on his third eye.
Yeah.
And he saw that moment as it sent him a message. He thought, well, I want to go back and work with my patients. And one of the techniques was he'd gather groups of people together and they would dance and move freely until they were less self-conscious. The less self-conscious they were, the freer their spirits were expressing just from movement. And just from moving happily and in a free flowing field over and over, it changed the energy of their lives and their cancers went away.
It's just like some of the very similar to what Sufis do. They twirl
That's
and
true.
twirl and
Yes.
twirl.
Yes.
But what happens, I mentioned this other man, Bruno Groening, and there's chapters all over the world. And I know the chapters in the Bay Area. And if you get on their email, you get their email once a week, once a month. And he wasn't a medical doctor. He didn't have any drugs or anything. He just worked on people to get them to that cellular level. And they healed. But I think Hitler, it was between World War I and World War II, Hitler put him in prison for some time.
So he would actually work on changing their state of mind and state of being.
Because if God didn't put a self-diagnostic healing mechanism or function within us, that's why it happens during the night when we sleep, then he wouldn't be omni. So omnism of the creator would not exist. But since he's omni, there's a function that if you do the right things, everything can heal. That's why we heal so many cells at night when we are asleep or repair. But if it becomes in a state of acute and in a state of very accumulative, emotionally trauma, then it's very difficult. So that's why we have got to a point that most of the diseases, they don't even, people are emotionally or psychologically or psychologically, they are psychologically, because we are not in that proportion. Then when they get in a state of very acute and pain and suffering comes, then they go to doctor. Because as long as I don't have a real physical pain, I don't go to doctor. Usually pain and extreme allergy happens when we are about 50%, below 50% of our optimum health. By the time we get to 40%, 30%, you're very acute. And below 50% of potential health, optimum health, you are maybe get a little chronic notice. But we don't pay attention until it's acute.
Well, in the process of our discussing tonight, we started discussing the faculties of the soul. And we understand that the soul has an effect on the mind.
Hierarchy, yeah.
The hierarchy. Excuse me. And then the mind has an effect on the heart. And the heart has an effect on the body.
I can deny all those hierarchies because I can claim I know better. Then I become narcissist and divisionist, yeah.
And dividing and conquering has been a way of defeating people for eons of time.
Because in order to division you, I have to division you.
Well, one of the things in studying scripture that I found out was that when people were separated from their homelands or separated from the things they wanted to do with passion and love, they went through people were subjecting them to a lot of pain and suffering. But when people gathered together and spoke of their pain and suffering and wrote about it in such a way and began to sing and recite poetry and created a communal spirit, even though they had no home and maybe their temples and all their prayers were destroyed, they had a memory amongst themselves of how they had overcome great hardship. And the overcoming of hardship became the gospel of the scripture, and seems that Christ, Buddha, Muhammad, the great avatars always said, well, this love and forgiveness factor, empathy and compassion, no matter how much pain and suffering you've been through, you could have a different outlook on all of this.
I tell all the people that I sometimes do consultation, in order to clear my emotional field, which is the cause of cancer and a lot of diseases from photographs that I have. It's to go through two things. You can write a list of 200, 300, 500 people I ask them. You don't, nobody has to know about it. It's your own private activity. You go through forgiveness and forgiveness because my mother said something, I failed to forgive. Or my father said something, I failed to forgive. My friends, all of those who hurt my feelings. If I don't forgive, it damages me more than them.
Yes.
Because they're cumulative in me, accumulative. It's not assimilative. And then in order to clear with the higher order, which comes all the sensation and all the synergy of healing, I have to repent to him. So there is two things, forgiveness and repentance. It clears this finger.
That emotional finger.
Yeah. Because 95% of all of our chronic and acute problem is emotional. And we all have it. I mean, if anybody says I don't have it, they're not telling you the truth. I have it, you have it, everybody. It's just the nature of life, because we are affected by our subconscious. So therefore, all of a sudden, our subconscious overrides the conscious. So if I have to leave tonight by one sentence to remember, is that it's happening a lot. And people have to defend themselves, this and that and all that. Judgment by assumption is usually false accusation.
Judgment by assumption is usually false accusations.
Yeah, false accusation. And that's why we do, everybody does that, when I want to divide you, I create a false accusation against you.
Rumor, bad press, propaganda.
Yeah. Because
gossip.
all of a sudden I separate you from the people, all of a sudden that if I'm good propaganda, I can do it. I'm a good, what is it called? The snake oil salesman. I can sell it to everybody. And then nobody likes me or you.
It sounds good. Well, we will continue our talks the next time. Today, we are thankful that you shared the Faculty of the Soul with us. You've given us more soul food for thought. And this nutrition will take in and feed our hearts and our spirits and our bodies.
Yeah, thank you. And hope we want surrender, submission, and service to creator and creation in peace with joy for all people, with boundary but no border. Because the minute they know we think about border, we become divisionist.
And bridges, no walls.
Yes.
And
Duality and no duality.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Blessings, my brother. Till the next time.
Thank you. Thanks for resonating with me.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for Here and Now. But until we meet again, this has been Louis-Virie Blanche thanking you for listening to Conversations with Elders on Glastonbury Radio 432. Bless you.
Quantum physics in the kitchen sink, the energy that follows the thoughts you think. Quantum physics and the cosmic sea, laws of nature too heavy for me. It's too cosmic, much too cosmic for me. Much too